soft hats and mutton shoes, erotic intense midnight cruise, whirling gay society in 1903. Sigmund Freud's Vienna's hype identifies the homo type, the intermediate sex, and heterodoxy. The gay wave moves across the sea. Hello there, Miss Liberty. Betty Boop is hot and hooches out in the cold. Greenwich Village, Bloomsbury, gays in high society. Harlem night, Chicago fights, Leopold and Loeb. Pride, gotta have pride. Better run too long to keep it inside. Pride gets it back and watch from the side. Pride is power and power is pride. It's time to celebrate all the colors of the rainbow. Get out into the streets, follow the tide.
Hello, I'm Brian McNaught, and this is Stonewall Portraits, Profiles, and Pride, a half-an-hour interview program with people who have made a significant difference in the lives of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people. And I'm really excited to have somebody whose name and face will actually be in history books, whether they're gay-oriented or straight-oriented. As the kids in California learn about our history, Elaine Noble, who is my dear friend, and we've known each other for 36 years, is the first person ever to be elected as an openly gay person in the United States to a state legislature. Before Harvey Milk, who everyone thinks was the first, you were the first.
Yeah.
And all the people today, there's a thing called the Victory Fund, all the people today who are getting elected are elected in the wake of your battle.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, so
Wonderful.
So Elaine, welcome to this this program, and we're going to talk first about when you were first elected.
Yes.
Which is in 1975.
Yes.
Yes.
Fall of 74, right.
Okay, so how long had you been out?
Oh, I had been out for some time, several years, so it was very hard to go back in.
Okay, so I'm 64, you're 69 right now.
Uh-huh.
Probably the happiest you've ever been in your whole life.
Very happy.
Am I right?
Yes.
You have the love of your life.
Yes, she's wonderful.
And her name?
Many years. Willa.
Willa. And you and Willa live in the Panhandle?
We've been down in the Panhandle in Florida for over 10 years.
Yeah.
We've known each other for a dozen years.
Yeah.
And
you have a tree farm?
We have a tree farm. It's the most passive sort of farming you can do.
And you run around in a golf cart?
I run around in a golf cart. I take care of our 2 horses. We have 9
goats?
cats.
And
my goat passed away, sadly, but I used to have 2 pygmy goats and a Nubian goat.
All right.
Goats would go riding with me.
But you take care of your horses?
Oh, sure. I do all the work myself.
And I've never, in the years that we've known each other, and there have been some amazing, funny experiences, I've never seen you so happy, and it makes me so happy to know that you're so happy. You glow.
Thank you. I have a good life.
Yeah, you do have a good life, and you deserve it.
Yeah.
But I want to go back. A lot of young people don't have a sense. They say, "Oh, I wouldn't put up with that." Well, but when we were younger, you were talking in the car when we came back from picking up at the ferry that. You never said anyone was gay.
Right.
What did you say?
If it were, oftentimes we couldn't use the word gay or homosexual, so we'd say, do you think she's Lithuanian? And I remember...
Anything that started with an L?
Lithuanian, right. Or Lebanese.
Lebanese, right.
But the Lebanese took offense, so we got away with
Well,
Lithuanian.
except that when you were ran for office, you went out and... somebody had spray painted your car.
Yes, that was when I snapped. Really, one day I snapped. Somebody had spray painted and had written on the back lesbian, and they misspelled it. And you know, when you're in great shock, and they poured sugar in my gas tank and put lug bolts in my tire, loosened the tire so they'd fly off. But I pounded on the back of the car, and one of my friends found me saying, "The idiots have misspelled it. The idiots have misspelled it." And it was like the worst affront. It was the last
Well, if you're going to
straw.
spray paint my car,
Spell
at least
the word
spell,
right.
Right.
Spell lesbian
This
right.
is Massachusetts,
This is
1975. Could this have happened in any other state?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I don't know. Massachusetts is a wonderful, unique
Yeah.
state. It really is.
So
Pretty
you,
interesting.
Barney Frank, Massachusetts.
Frank,
yeah. Gary Studs,
Gary
Massachusetts.
Studs, right.
Two openly gay Congress people, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit. You're from a coal mining family
Coal mining, steel mining,
in
industrial in
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Your dad was a union guy.
Very big union guy,
And
yeah.
what's your family dynamic? Brothers,
Well, I have
sisters?
brother, sister. I have an older sister who's 72.
Yeah,
I think she's going to be 73 in the fall.
yeah.
My brother has passed away. She had 2 boys. Her husband has passed away.
Yeah.
They're married and each have 2 daughters. And my nephew, who I helped raise, my brother's boy, has his first baby. So we have all girls, 5 little girls to take care of.
How little are the nieces?
They're like 3 and
Okay.
6 and 4.
So they don't yet
Babies.
know
No,
that they
but
have
my
a very
nephews-
historic
My
aunt.
nephews were fabulous.
Yeah.
And my brother, who was the prison guard, I remember him telling my nephew that if anyone said anything that was bad about his aunt, that he had permission to smack him, basically, not to take foolishness.
Do you understand that you're a historic person?
Well, I'm not sure I understand it it makes me feel uncomfortable on some levels, and on other levels I'm proud that I made a
Are
contribution.
you proud?
Oh yeah, I'm delighted. I mean, it was there to be done. I stepped forward. I was talking.
How did you know? What gave you the chutzpah to step forward?
Well, it's a process of evolution.
Yeah.
And I was teaching at Emerson College. And
What were you teaching?
I was teaching public speaking, phonetics,
Okay.
communication courses. And I was out there. In fact,
Why and how? I mean, this is
it's just
early
I was,
70s.
The homophile organization on campus
And
needed
it was
a
called
sponsor.
Homophile.
The homophile.
Kids today have no idea.
No.
They'd say, "What?
What is
Sounds
that?"
like a musical instrument,
It was.
little pipe."
way.
So there was a homophile group on campus.
And they needed an advisor, so I became an advisor.
Okay.
And the
This
homophile,
is 72, 73?
maybe a little earlier than that.
Okay.
70, 69, 70. And so I said, well, I'll be your advisor. And it was so funny because some of the other gay teachers who were closeted, of course,
Everyone was closeted.
said, you're too gay. And I said, what's too gay? I mean, what is too gay?
Right.
She said, well, too many people know you're gay. And I said, well...
How gay were you?
Yeah, pretty gay, I guess. And it was so funny because she said, you're not going to get promoted. People are too nervous about you being gay. So what does that have to do with my teaching? I mean, classes are full, I take on extra, work. And
Where'd
she
you get the chutzpah to do that?
you know what, I think it really came from my family who said, stand up for yourself. You believe in something, stand up,
That's
They
the
were-
message you got from your mom and dad?
Yeah, really, be proud,
Yeah.
stand up. Whatever you are, be the best you can be.
What'd your mom do?
She was a housewife.
Uh-huh.
I shouldn't say just a housewife.
Right.
That was,
That's what
And,
Hillary Rosen said.
tough. Yeah. Tough.
She's never worked.
Yeah. But both of them were strong and hardworking, working class people.
Yeah.
And
Were
they
you
were-
the smart one in the family?
No, actually, my sister and I were both. My sister's really smart.
Yeah.
She taught herself how to read Russian and I mean, really smart. Yeah. she
But you
was.
were smart in school. Were you
Ah.
involved in politics in school? Were you a class president or?
No, I thought that was all nerdy stuff. I didn't get it.
I was senior class president, and it was not nerdy at all.
What can I say? I was the one that would always get in trouble and have,
Oh, would you?
play pranks and stuff.
Oh,
I
you were a
did the
prankster.
Underground newspaper and stuff,
Oh, you did?
Yeah, in high school.
Huh. Now you weren't out in high school.
No.
No. Did you date?
Yes, I did, but I always had a boyfriend who was away. I wasn't really,
oh,
I
yeah?
hadn't really figured out what I was doing.
You went to the prom? Senior
I went
prom?
to several proms, yeah, I had a great time.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
So you go to Emerson, you get your degree
Well,
in-
I went to BU. I got a scholarship to BU. Went
at
to
Boston
BU.
University.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
And of course, it was in the Fine and Applied Arts School, which were musicians, and it was just wonderful. It was being dropped into a most of them were New Yorkers, you
Yeah.
know. So it was interesting to get into a whole new culture of things. You know,
Right.
and I began looking at myself.
Okay,
and
so this kid from Pennsylvania is
Writing
exposed
his
to
life
these
to
New
be you,
Yorkers who are
Right.
more arty and sophisticated. That
Yeah.
impacted you.
Sure.
So then you got your degree and went straight to Emerson?
Well, I taught for a year, and then I at a junior college in New Hampshire, which is New London.
Oh.
When I told you that I knew that area around Dartmouth.
Our friend Tommy DePaula.
Yeah.
Children's.
I directed Tommy in a play up
Did
there.
you?
Yeah.
Tommy DePaula, children's author,
He came up,
illustrator,
yeah.
gay man.
Gay
like
man,
so many other
wonderful.
children's authors and illustrators.
Really?
Maurice Sendak just
Oh.
recently died. Gay man. I mean, tons. Hans Christian Andersen. So many people. But
Wow.
we
But
digress.
Tommy was.
Tommy
he's-
DePaula. Yeah,
he's
you
so
knew in New
talented.
London.
He's so talented.
But you okay? So you're at Emerson. You're the.
So I went back to graduate school,
Right.
which was Emerson, and then I was asked to remain and teach, so I
Right.
stayed as an instructor, and the homophile group
Asked you to-
they couldn't
right.
exist on campus if they didn't have a group.
Well, how'd you get in
sponsor.
politics?
Well, actually, my friend Ann Lewis I met because a bunch of us who were with Daughters of Bilitis, which was a gay organization.
Right.
we
The
were-
Daughters of Bilitis was really the earliest lesbian
Right.
organization in the
Uh-huh.
country. Del Martin and
Right,
Phyllis
Phyllis and
Lyon
Del,
and Barbara
right.
Giddings. So you were involved with the DOB?
Here in Boston, we start. I wasn't one of the founders. I just went. It was
Right.
some other gals, and thank God they did. I mean, we'd have softball games, and there was something very important about putting a structure together because the only other gay organization was all men, and myself and another woman were part of a gay. We were on the board, but we couldn't vote. The men wouldn't let us vote. They said we couldn't vote. So we decided.
My
We heard
goodness.
some women were starting an all-women's group.
Ah,
So we thought, well, Gail King and I, we'd go join that group. But the interesting thing about the homophile group, all male, is that Gail and I were the only ones on the call list. And when men would get picked up, young boys would get picked up in the Reeds and the Fenway,
arrested.
they'd call us, and we'd go down to the jail and get them out.
But you couldn't vote.
We couldn't vote,
Oh.
but we could get.
You weren't
get
gay
people.
enough.
Right.
So, but how did you get in politics? You joined the
Well,
DOB. You knew
we-
Ann Lewis is the
Well, then a bunch of us-
sister of Barney Frank,
Right.
a
And a bunch
political
of us-
strategist.
They were starting the Women's Political Caucus, so a bunch of us from DOB went to the Women's Political Caucuses, and it turned out we had enough votes to swing the election. So Gail said, why don't you run for president? Let's see if we can get somebody elected. So Ann held her breath, and there were two of us who were elected co-chairs. And Ann was sort of she was working for the mayor at the time, Kevin White, who
Right.
we both
We
know.
both worked for.
Yeah, and so that's how I met Ann, through the Women's Political Caucus, and it was just starting, and it was wonderful. We got to be great friends.
So were you president of the Women's Political
I was one
Caucus?
of the co-chairs of
Okay.
it, myself and another woman.
So did Ann encourage you to
Oh,
run
yes,
for
very much
office?
so. It was really Ann. It was really Ann.
So what seat you ran for a seat?
Yes, well, we got involved in organizing the Women's Political Caucus.
All right.
And I think her way of seeing me move, and Ann and I became very close. We were best friends for 30 years.
Right.
And, she said, I have a brother who's going to be running for office. He's going to come back from Washington. Will you help me with this campaign? I said, I'd be delighted. And it was Barney.
Barney Frank.
And it was so funny because we had to run the campaign. Barney couldn't afford to give up his job with Congressman Harrington at the time to come back. So we'd structure these things saying, oh, Barney was just campaigning on this corner and that corner. Of course, he wasn't here.
Right.
But we-
So Barney ran for office before you did? for
Yes,
the
he
ci-
did, huh?
But then he was also Kevin White's chief of
He
staff. Was that
Kevin
before or
White-
after?
It was before. He was
Okay.
Kevin White's chief of staff, and then he went to be chief of staff for Congressman Harrington.
Okay.
He left Kevin's, and he brought his sister into Kevin's office.
Okay.
So she was working in Kevin's office when I met her and when Barney came back to run for office, for a state rep seat.
So Barney runs for office and wins.
It,
You run for office and win.
right.
And then they were going to merge your two districts, and you were going to have to run against Barney.
Well,
Is that right?
actually, they could have made, but Barney wanted to make me a seat. In all fairness to Barney, he wanted to make a seat. But I said, Barney, look, I've run, I've got reelected. I really want to get out of here. I've had enough of this.
Oh, because
And
I
so-
remember he called me
Yeah,
and said he wanted me to support
Right.
him, and I said, Barney, Elaine is gay.
yeah.
I have to support a gay person,
Yeah.
because he wasn't out
Yeah,
at the time.
right. Well, it was so funny because his sister and his mother, who was very close with, knew Barney was gay. The only one that didn't know Barney was gay was Barney.
Yeah.
You know, so in many ways, I think I was a gift from his family to him to sort of,
To
so
come
that
out.
he could see that I was in the legislature and it was going to be okay, and for him to come out. And eventually he did, of course.
But you said you were tired of being in the legislature?
Well, it was exhausting. It was, first of all, it was, how can I say this? I'm not a political person. I hate to say this. I like to think politically. But
Well,
Barney is a politician.
Yeah, but you ran for the Senate. I
Well,
drove
it
you
was
across
great.
the
It was
state.
great fun, wasn't it?
I drove you across
was
the
my
state. You
swan
walked
song.
into a fire station in
You're gonna
Worcester,
tell
I
that story.
think,
Worcester.
and said, "I'm Elaine Noble. I'm running for Senate, and I'd
Right.
like to slide down that pole."
I wanted to go down that pole. I'd always wanted to do that. They wouldn't let me.
No, but they were they were
Yeah,
they
we
were
had a good
impressed
time.
with the
Well, I think the
request.
fact that I was a swing vote on binding arbitration for police and fire
Yeah.
helped a lot too.
Well, that was the seat Paul Songus
Yeah,
won. Okay,
won.
so and Willa is the love of your life, but you've had some interesting women in your life.
I've had a lot of interesting women in my life,
Yeah.
for sure.
Rita Mae
Oh,
Brown.
you're going to go through my
I am
whole
up
litany?
for
Oh.
all the girls I loved before. So we got Rita Mae Brown.
That was a long time ago. Rita Mae Brown.
Right.
Short-lived.
Yeah.
Great author, great writer. And when Rita came to stay with me, all the turmoil was going on in
Yeah.
my first term, with people shooting through the house and doing outrageous things.
At your house.
Yeah.
Talk
On Marlborough
about
Street.
some of the things that happened to you,
And-
because a lot of people have no sense of what it was like.
Well, in the campaign itself, it was still viewed as one of the most vicious ones that happened. I mean, they broke the windows to my headquarters and intimidated and threatened workers, and it was pretty rough.
This is your first campaign.
First campaign.
As an openly gay person,
Mm-hmm.
and people broke the windows of your campaign.
Yeah,
and,
they
and your
painted
own home.
the cars, and they shot through my windows, and they broke in and took things from my
Weren't you
home.
terrified?
I was terrified. You'd be a fool not to. But also there was a part of me that said, I'm not going to let them see me sweat, basically.
Right.
I'm not going to let them get away with this.
Did you have a partner at the time?
It was hard to keep one in that atmosphere, I
Yeah.
must tell you, and I
Yeah.
don't blame them. I mean, Rita just had it
Right.
because it kept up. And as a writer, she needed quiet and peace, and it was very difficult.
She wrote
with
Ruby Fruit Jungle.
people
but-
shooting through your house.
Yeah. So pretty scary. You got
It was
elected.
scary.
Did it end after you got
It
elected?
really didn't end. It subsided and it would come back in waves.
Yeah.
And it was, remember Bob Matlovich?
Bob Matlovich, right? Bobby
Well,
Matlovich was
he-
my
he-
brother's best friend.
Yeah,
My brother lived
right.
with them, yeah.
And he worked for me at the State House for a while, and he came running down to the hall and called me out, and his eyes big as saucers, and he said, a man called, and he said, he's going to bomb the place if you don't resign. I said, did he leave a name? Did he leave an address? He said, no, he didn't. I said, I think he's faking, so don't worry about it. But it just
He was
terrified him. He
terrified.
said,
Of
I
course
can't
it
do this anymore.
terrified.
So for people who are not used to that kind of
Young kid working for you, and he gets a bomb threat, and he thinks his life is going to end because people don't realize that in our early gay pride marches in Boston, anti-gay people threw cherry bombs
Oh
into
my
the parade.
God.
They would, they thought we were just like goats that could
Yeah.
be harassed as we
Right.
walked down the.
well, the first gay pride parade that I didn't even know we had to have a permit, and the second one, which people say was the first, but it was really the second one, I went to City Hall and got a permit. And the guy behind the counter, the young kid, was a man named Peter Mead, who's now chairman of the board of of Emerson College's trustees. And Peter was so freaked that a teacher at Emerson came to get a permit for a parade called Gay Pride that he nervously typed in Emerson College as the recipient of the parade. So the permit was mailed to the president of the college. So needless to say, I got this 4-page letter saying how I had jeopardized the nonprofit status. And of course, Marty helped me out with that, wrote a letter and told him to calm down.
You've known a lot of interesting people.
Oh, yeah.
Ted Kennedy.
Yes, the senator, God bless him.
Kevin White.
Kevin White, another dear soul.
Ed King was the governor of
He
was the Republican governor of Massachusetts at one point.
And the other Ed King, too. There was another Republican Ed King that I used to debate all the time.
Well, who was the one who said that our mutual friend Chick Mahoney was...
Ed King.
He said, how gay is he?
Yeah, he did. Well, how gay is he?
When he found out he was gay and he was going to be appointed, he said, well, how gay is he?
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10. Right.
How gay is he?
Okay,
I think he meant that was he going to wear a dress under his robe or something?
So the New York Times, when you die, which I hope is many, many years from now, will say that the lead line will be that you were the first person elected.
I'm going to make sure you write it, Brian.
I'd love to write it.
Yeah.
This is part of, I'd love to write it. But what is the highlight of your life so far? What would you say?
Highlight of my life.
Yeah. You're a sober person.
I'm sober, and I like to think I'm a decent person.
But sobriety, was that a big deal for you, becoming a sober person?
It was. Whatever adversity I've faced, I've tried to make something good come out of it.
Right.
And I think it was getting sober that made me realize, there's a lot more to life than, drinking. Because so much of our life back then was around bars,
the bars were our churches.
Right.
Churches didn't support us, so the bars were the only places people had to gather.
Social...
And so you drank.
Yeah, right.
And you started one of the first, if not the first, recovering units
Institute.
The Pride Institute for lesbian and gay
in
people who were
addicted
and wanted to go to a place where they didn't have to worry. When Ray, my spouse, got clean, he was in a room with a bunch of teenagers who were on, crack, and he was terrible. They were straight, and they all had to sleep in the same. So you created a place where gay people could go and be with gay people.
Very nice place, very lovely place. And I did it in Minnesota for several reasons. One, because the Senate president and Karen Gale that I helped mentor was on the health committee, and she was a state rep there, and Karen Clark. And so they helped me redo the adolescent license to an adult license, and there was a facility out there, and the community was very welcoming. And so I had some political allies out there that I could count on. And I'm glad we did it.
Yeah. So you did that.
Yeah.
You created you created the first position of mayor's liaison, right?
Yeah.
No one in the country, and you hired Robin McCormick part-time to work for Kevin White. He was my predecessor, but he was part-time.
Right.
You created that. You started Gateway Radio. Yeah.
It was the first gay radio program in the country.
There was one in Texas. So you were the
called...
host of that.
Yes,
for
a woman named Bonnie Cronin, who was a wonderful woman, who was the manager of the program of WBUR, who later I introduced to John Kerry, and she went on to run his office when he was a U.S. Senator. And she said, what you want to do a gay radio program? Let's talk about it and design something. And we did, and we raised more money in 1 hour of Gateway than we did, than the rest of the programs did all day long on their marathon, fundraising drive. And then when I decided I'd run for office, I asked Ann McGuire to take it over and start doing it. She did a good job with it, and I think had fun with it.
Ann Lewis was your campaign manager?
Ann Lewis was and Ann McGuire worked on my campaign too.
With the volunteers?
With the volunteers, and we gave her the name as manager, and she did a great job for me. She really did. There was one funny story, if I may.
Yes, please.
One of my opponents, who was I don't know where Ann McGuire would find these resources, but she would find them. She's such a resourceful woman. And, telephone banks are very important on the day of the campaign to call, get your vote out. And I found out this later, that one of my opponent's phone banks went dead. Well, one of Ann's friends, Hard Hat, worked for the phone company, mysteriously went down into the sewer, basically, where all the phone lines were. And all of his phone lines went dead. And I said, I don't want to know.
No.
Don't tell me.
Ann later became the mayor of Boston's campaign manager, so.
She learned a lot.
Yes, she did learn a lot. You're a
Very
strong
resourceful.
woman.
I think
You're
so.
a really strong woman, so women who were going to be with you needed to be strong, to stand, to be able to.
I think so, yeah, sure.
I mean, you've had in your life
Gotta
people
push
who've been
back.
national newscasters and,
Yeah, sure.
and,
Interesting women. I've been blessed with some wonderful women in my life.
yeah.
Lovers, friends, just lovely
Yeah.
people, yeah.
So let's go back to the highlight of your life. What's
the highlight
What's
of my-
what's one of the highlights and what's the lowest point, you think?
Oh, wow. Lowest point. I think, personal things like losing my brother was a low point.
Okay.
High point, I think probably going through college and getting a couple of degrees and getting elected and getting reelected by one of the largest majorities ever in Massachusetts. And making a decision to get out of the legislature. I could have stayed forever.
Yeah.
Barney wanted to make me a seat, but I said, Barney, I've had it. I've really had it. You got to remember, I had requests from people all over the country and all over the world.
To speak.
Not only to speak, but with their problems, and they call me on my phone.
yeah.
You can't have a private phone when
That
you're...
happened to me in
Oh,
Detroit because I was the only
Sure.
big name out in Michigan at the time, and everyone would call you, and it
Yeah.
wears you down.
It really
Three
grinds you down,
three
and I
o'clock
thought,
in the morning,
I'm a
someone's-
school teacher. What am I doing here?
Right.
This is crazy. I don't
Right.
want to. But
And
I
now
thought,
there are 100,000
Isn't that
gay
wonderful?
people who
Isn't that
are lesbian,
wonderful?
bisexual, who are leaders. So
isn't it great?
yeah, it
It's
is great.
Great.
And one of the great things about it is that you feel that you can let go
Yeah.
because you carried it for so long.
Yeah. Right. Let go.
You can just let go and let somebody else pick up
Yeah.
the
Pick
challenge.
up the piece.
And-
Robin Tyler said to me, "Well, don't you really care about keeping your name alive?" And I said, "Robin, I don't care."
Right.
She said, "You don't care about your place in history?" I said, No, you have to understand. It's like a Congo line of life.
Yeah.
You're in the front, and sometimes you're in the back, and you get whipped into the wall. But everybody gets a turn. Everybody should take a turn in making life better for people. And,
And you keep doing that.
well, I don't think I keep doing it, but I think I...
Well, you told me
I
about
gave it
taking
the
the
offer.
goat, taking the goat to the, senior citizen center so
love
that people
that,
would
my
have
little
something to
goats.
laugh and clap with.
That's
You
what-
trained the goat to slide down the slide.
That's
and,
true. It was
Yeah.
fun.
And so,
Oh, we still make a contribution, sure, and I do teaching down in the South where I live with high school students.
how involved are you in gay community projects?
Not really.
Well, you joined the Stonewall
Well,
group,
that's
the
true.
Stonewall National Museum.
When asked, I help,
Yeah.
But I like to live a private life. I
Do
gave
you?
it the office.
Have you always
give me
been
a break?
You gave it the office.
Yeah, I gave it the office. So give me a break.
I get that.
You know?
I mean, so
Time
you
for
gave and gave and gave,
It's time for me to
and
have
it's
a little,
time for Elaine to.
for a little private life and to have some fun.
Yeah.
Not that it wasn't fun. There was a lot of fun with being out and being in elected office. It was a lot of fun, and I met a lot of crazy, wonderful political people and learned so much. But it's not a real life. At some point you have to ask yourself, what's real to you? What is the essence of life that you want to live? What makes you happy? And then you follow your heart to what makes you...
What makes you happy?
Well, I've always loved animals, and I have a dear person who shares that love, and I love the outdoors, and I love, I couldn't stand the winters anymore here in Massachusetts. So those things make me happy. And I wanted to live in the South because I'd never lived in the South. And I wanted to experience the South in a way before it became homogenized. And I just happened to meet a Southern woman who couldn't live in the North. I came home one day and she had a plastic shovel trying to break the ice. I mean, this poor creature didn't know.
Up north?
Yeah, she didn't know. And I went, this is never going to work.
Right.
She's not going to survive here.
So you settled down some.
Sure.
So you're happy.
Very,
Yeah.
very.
And if you had a quick message to give to kids coming out today, it would be what?
To thine own self be true.
To thine own self be true.
Right. Just be true to yourself.
Be true to yourself, and
And
so
be
if you
kind, and
if-
be kind through life.
Be kind to
gentle,
people.
And don't be so evaluative.
so
Try to be
judgmental.
Judgmental, be non-evaluative, and move through life, as gently as you can.
All right. Well, I'm going to have an evaluation at this moment.
Yeah.
And that is that you're a pretty terrific
Oh,
person.
thanks.
And we as a movement are so lucky to have had you
Oh, thank you.
as our, really one of our birthing mothers.
Oh, thank you.
And so,
Sweet.
and I love you as a person.
I love you
Yeah,
too, baby.
Yeah, thank you. So, thank you all. Thank you, Elaine Noble. We are so proud and grateful to you.
Well, thanks.
Gotta have pride. Been around too long to keep it inside. Pride. Can't sit back and watch from the side.